Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. This is one of those videos where you're just going to have a laugh. It's just funny. It's just ridiculous. And it's more amusing than newsing. But it is something I think we can talk about because it's a most ridiculous claim you've ever heard. Obviously, the man is delusional. He's living in a world that is not in any way related to the one that we all live in. He's obviously on some kind of hallucinogenic substance because what he's suggesting is so outrageously left field that it cannot possibly be anything that comes from the musings of a sane mind. But it is, nonetheless, I think, funny. We will have a look at it, but it's just ridiculous. I'm talking about the claims made by a man who has said that should Scotland become independent, a future English government will have to take it back by force. We'll go into it. But it is just a joke. What is he on? Anyway, we'll find out. Here you go. Now, before we do get into this, I will ask if you could please check you are still subscribed. It's happening again. There's a whole bunch. I've just noticed a whole bunch disappeared. And when you go back down the videos, nobody's deselected them. Nobody's unsubscribed. So it must be YouTube. And we have reports of this happening all the time. So do please check you're still subscribed. And if you have been bounced off, do resubscribe. And if you've never subscribed, now's an excellent time. As we move through this year and we're moving towards the election, you won't want to miss. We will be constantly harping on and berating the SNP and all other parties if they do something stupid. I'm not going to be picking sides. I hate all politicians. But we will do that. So do please hit the subscribe button. Let's get up there. We want to make 10,000 by the end of February. And I'm afraid, dear fellows, that's only down to you. But it is, I think, an achievable target. So do please help, because the wider we get, the louder we become, the more people see the truth. Although this is just weird. We're going to do this story, but it is just weird. So a writer praised by the SNP government ridiculed after a bonkers claim about the English invasion of Scotland. And we're not talking historical invasions here. We're talking about invasions yet to come. Dr. W. Elliot Bulmer said a future English government could try and retake Scotland by force in a move similar to Putin's invasion of the Ukraine. There is no such thing, I'm afraid, as an English government. So that's number one. He does need to sort of reflect on the fact that England doesn't have a government. So straight away, he's a bit off-centre, isn't he? Anyway, a writer who sparked ridicule with his claim that England could invade Scotland in the event of the UK breaking up was praised by Scottish government civil servants. Why are civil servants, who are supposed to be impartial, praising this kind of thing? Why are they showing partiality instead of impartiality? Why are they taking sides? It's because, as we know, the SNP has festered and grown like a cancer all the way through the civil service. Whoever comes in next, if it's a Labour government at Holyrood in a few years' time, will have a major problem because they're going to be dealing with an SNP civil service. It's emerged that Dr. W. Elliot Bulmer, who produces a regular column for the pro-Skexit The National, or Pravda, questioned whether Scotland's southern neighbour could be trusted in the event of independence, and he drew parallels between England and Russia, claiming a future English government, whatever that is, could try and retake Scotland by force in a way similar to Putin's invasion of Ukraine. So let's have a look at that then. This invasion of Ukraine, he says he's going to compare it, an English invasion, to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Well, first of all, number one, obviously, you're not going to get independence. The vast proportion of people in Scotland don't want independence, and so it's not likely to happen. That's number one. Number two, should madness befall and independence actually happened, do you really think England would invade Scotland? They wouldn't need to. They'd just throw a border up and wait until the Scottish government came back down, having destroyed Scotland, having bankrupted Scotland, having got nothing, having watched Scotland sink down because it's got nothing. It's got a destroyed economy. It's got no trade because it's gone out. It's had to have its own currency, which will have sunk massively on the stock markets, on the currency exchange markets. It's got no facilities. It will be a failed state within weeks, and it will come back, and it'll be like Darien all over again. This time even worse, because the English or the United Kingdom, remain the United Kingdom government, could sit there and impose even more stringent powers to allow you back in. And that undoubtedly would mean, number one, there'd be no Scottish government. It's not going to happen, of course, but I'm just saying they've got no obligations. Thirdly, what do you think? How long do you think an invasion would take? An independent Scotland won't have any defence force. So even if England was minded to invade, there'd be zero resistance. You haven't got a navy. You haven't got an air force. You've got barely an army, one regiment. These people are complete lunatics. It's never. Thankfully, it'll never happen. What UK government is going to sit there and launch an invasion of Scotland? It's not the 1700s. Grow up, you immature moron. Dear heaven, does he not look around him and see reality? Has reality passed him by? You do have to wonder. The lunacy. Anyway, he drew parallels between England and Russia, claiming a future English government could try and retake Scotland by force. Wouldn't need to, just have to wait. In a way similar to Putin's invasion of Ukraine, and the suggestion has been savaged by voters. But evidence had been uncovered that Dr. Bulmer had met with the Scottish government staff 3 times. Who's allowing this moron, this idiot, this completely insane academic access to government? He was approached in May 2022 by a civil servant asking for help on a detailed perspective for an independent Scotland. Why? Not going to happen. He met with staff again in February and June last year, and in 2022 he was thanked for his really helpful and interesting discussion. I think patted on the head and sent on his way would be more like it. The information was revealed by Sam Taylor of These Islands think tank as part of a Freedom of Information request. Dr. Bulmer claims to be interested in research, policy advice, advocacy and education on democracy, constitutions, good governance and strong institutions. I think he needs to take more time dealing with his mental health. He's clearly insane. He had been discussing defence in a hypothetical independent Scotland. Hang on a minute. Who? What army? Who's paying? You don't have the money. The Scottish government can't run Scotland now. Who's going to join the Scottish military? Seriously. By the time you take out the children, the elderly, the civil servants, what have you got left? Anyone with money's run to England. You're left with people. Are they going to give up their lives to keep the SNP government in power? I don't think so. Anyway, the claim was blasted on social media. Times columnist Kenny Farquharson said, "This is what happens when the SNP others the English. It's just all fun and games until somebody suggests they will come for us with guns and tanks." Which, of course, isn't going to happen, is it? Dr. David Blagden, who lectures on international security at the University of Exeter, said, "The recurring problem of military hostility between the nations of Great Britain was solved in 1707. And if you're worried about the return to this intra-island animosity affecting commerce, free movement or even security cooperation, simply don't lobby to break up the UK." According to the publisher's website, Dr. Bulmer previously served with the Royal Navy as a logistics officer and spent 6 months leading a special operations PSYOPs team in Iraq. He now lives in Dunblane, where he enjoys communing with nature, reading real ale and learning the banjo. I can make comment. Real ale, he's on a lot of it, I suspect. And learning the banjo. He's ex-military. He'll know exactly what a banjo is. I'm going to tell you now. I know. People, I know. You know too. Everyone who's military knows exactly what a banjo is. And for those of you who don't know, it's it's a fried egg sandwich. And it's called a banjo for a reason. But being military, the military guys know, and the non-military guys probably don't. And I'm not going to spill the beans about fried egg sandwiches. But you know if you know. Anyway, I shall round off there. I shall come up and we shall finish the video. But this guy is clearly in need of a lot of serious psychiatric help, isn't he? Coming up. So imagine, if you will, someday, it'll be a Thursday morning. It'll be August, because you'll want a nice warm day for it. And some English government in 2063 decides that all of a sudden, they'll like, let's go and invade Scotland. They've been independent for a few years now, you know, but we'll go for no reason whatsoever, just go and invade them. Okay, then they move their tanks up to the Scottish border, go through the huge fence that will have had to have been built, because obviously you need a hard border, because Scotland has managed somehow to get into the EU. And they'll just put the tanks across, and then what's going to happen? The EU will just go, oh, we're not trading with you anymore. You can't get over. I mean, this is obviously the product of a deranged, mentally ill man with a deep loathing of the English for some reason. And I come from a country that has had problems with the English in the past for obvious reasons. But even I know that England is not going to invade Scotland. What on earth is this guy on? And can I have some? Anyway, I thought it was funny. We'll finish there. Please hit the subscribe button. Please press the like button. Please spread the video about. Let's make this a thing. Let's get to the 10,000 by the end of February. And we'll move on to the next video. But this one is just ridiculous, isn't it? The guy needs help. Bye.